A student throws down the gauntlet, questioning Jesus' existence and reliability. Cliffe fires back with compelling evidence and insights. Did Cliffe settle the debate? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's dive in and explore the arguments.
Did Muhammad ever live?
We have no idea.
You have no idea?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, he lived. The overwhelming historical evidence is Muhammad lived from 571 to 632
But there is
AD,
also,
okay?
like, other-
Muhammad is not a myth. He's an historical person. Did Jesus Christ live? Yes, sir. Overwhelming historical evidence is that Jesus Christ lived.
But in the other history books, like the Chinese edition history book, that they were talking about how the first three the emperors they lived, but most people don't think that they lived. Like,
Well, fine, there's mythology, there's legend, and you've got to learn to distinguish
then
between
why
legend
is
and history.
Jesus Christ is not a legend, but the stuff is the legend.
Right. Mickey Mouse is a story, a legend.
No, I'm not
Mickey
saying
Mouse didn't live.
I didn't say Mickey Mouse.
George Washington lived,
Yeah.
okay? The dog, Pluto, didn't live. It's a story, fictitious, legend, myth.
Right.
George Washington did live, history. Jesus Christ did live, historical fact.
Well, how can we tell if the stories about him is true or not?
You bet. By having tests that you use to determine historical accuracy. So come up with some tests that you use. For myself, I use literary style, archaeological evidence, manuscript evidence, and internal consistency. And I'd use those 4 tests on any document that claims to be historical, and I can promise you the Quran is accurate, and the New Testament is accurate. And the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama Buddha have been accurately preserved. So now I'm asking you, read the Quran, read the writings of Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, read the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and ask yourself, does the evidence point to Jesus Christ being reliable in a way the others are not? Or does the evidence point to Muhammad being reliable in a way that Jesus is not? And you decide after you look at the accurate historical record of Muhammad, Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, and Jesus Christ.
Why we assume this history are real?
Pardon?
Why we assume this history are real?
We don't assume, sir. I gave you 4 tests to use. If you don't like my test, no problem, but just come up with some more reliable tests that you use to determine historical reliability. I will not be offended if you don't like my test, but I gave you 4 tests that you can use on any document. I'll go over them again. Literary style, literary genre, internal consistency, are there contradictions within the text? Thirdly, archaeology. And fourthly, number of manuscripts and how close to the date of writing are they? That's the 4 tests I use on Quran, Greek history, Roman history, Chinese history, American history. Use tests to determine historical reliability. Now, sir, when World War II came to a close, General Dwight D. Eisenhower invited journalists from the United States, from England, to come and photograph and record Dachau, Auschwitz, and Buchenwald. Why did he do that? He did that because he was afraid that if it was not carefully chronicled what the Nazis had done in Auschwitz, Buchenwald, and Dachau, that there would be certain Nazi propaganda that would say the Allies made up the gas chambers, the prison camps. And so Dwight D. Eisenhower invited all the journalists to come in to write and to photograph to make sure that people would understand the historicity of Dachau, Auschwitz, and Buchenwald. History, I'll answer you as soon as I'm done answering him. History is a legitimate form of knowledge,
Yeah, but
okay? Jesus was an historical person. He wasn't an American, he wasn't Chinese. He was a Jew, and he lived in 1st century Palestine. Read the Gospels and find out, is he reliable or not?
But the difference about the recent history and the ancient history is that we have photographs, we can take pictures nowadays. But in the back, they were just storytelling in between human beings, isn't that? Like when you say like 5 women go to a tomb, and the tomb is open or closed, whatever. Like it could be the story that 5 women they were told in between themselves, or it could be someone making up a five.
You're
people.
right. That's why you have to have the tests. That's why you have to look at character. Now let me answer you. You have to look at character. You have to look at the document. And what you'll find when you read the Gospels is they talk about their shortcomings. Peter was one of the leaders of the first century church. And in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Peter denies knowing Christ. Jesus says to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan." Ooh, that's not very nice. Peter, you made a lot of mistakes. Yeah, I'm glad that was recorded. That's what you call part of accurate history. Recording the sins and the mistakes of the historical people, as well as their strong points. And that lends credibility to the eyewitness testimony when they're honest about their mistakes, their sins.